Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
For over 50 years, the Formula Ford Festival has celebrated motorsports in the United Kingdom. And for the last 2 years on iRacing, we've had the British Racing and Sports Car Club iRacing Formula Ford 1600 Festival to showcase racecraft here around Brands Hatch. Welcome along to the iRacing Esports Network and to RaceSpotTV once more for another round of the iRacing special event calendar. My name's Arjuna Kankipati, joined alongside by Lewis McLeod as we get ready to dive into, well, plenty of racing action. And Lewis, we had some fun with this a year ago for the very first time. It's great to be back for year two.
Yeah, indeed. You know, it was a fantastic event, a fantastic addition to the to the calendar of special events. Of course, won by Jason Smith, Damon Wood, Gordy Much came in for a last minute for it, and today we've got another list of fantastic drivers, obviously taking to the circuit. They're in qualifying at the moment, though, where they only get 2 laps, and I've been told by a lot of these drivers, qualifying is key for this.
Very important because it sets the stage for what lies. Let's talk, though, about the calendar and what we've still got, because November's a busy month. The Fuji 8 Hours building in a couple of weeks' time. The SCCA runoffs as well. A long day of competition with so many different sort of machines on action. And then the Winter Derby, of course, before the Chili Bowl, the final event in December, rounds out this special event calendar. But Lewis, like you were saying, it's important because if you qualify well, you start towards the front of one of your heats, and the one thing you want to do is avoid heading off to NLCQ and being eliminated before you make it to the final.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can see it there. If you qualify well in your heat, you're likely, if you're in the top half, you're likely to move through. 13 drivers advancing from that, from the first and second heat. If you go into that last chance qualifier, it's the biggest grid and the least amount of drivers going through. Only 4 drivers advance to that last chance qualifier. I do not want to be anywhere near that last chance qualifier.
And you know, we've seen LCQs in dirt racing. Let's talk, you know, about some of the other things on iRacing that use that sort of a format. They are always laden with contact. You definitely don't want to find yourself down the back of the LCQ. Your finishing position from the heat also determines where you start for that, well, rather chaotic affair. 5 minutes left in the qualifying session right now, and the 56 car strong field all out there and pushing as hard as they can, on board with Jamie Christensen as they works out of the final corner with a bit too much slide there. Now, you can do a bit of a 4-wheel drift and still hold some speed. Definitely not like that. The benchmark right now of 48.096 from Crofton Woodhatch.
Yeah, Woodhatch, who's been doing decently in the Formula Fords, of course, and supports the British Formula 4 Esports Championship. So he's worked his way up onto the provisional pole. The championship leader of all that, Mark Fletcher, has just gone into 4th position. A lot of big names on this grid, the likes of Callum Voisin out in action. Obviously, you've got Emil Bernstorff, you've got Remy Gilbert. I always said Callum Voisin. Remy Gilbert out there as well. I mean, look, it is a fantastic grid of drivers as Kelly goes up to 2nd.
And so remember, you qualify first, you lead at the front of heat number 1, you qualify second, you lead at the front of heat number 2, and you filter every other driver in behind them. Still got 4 minutes left to go, and plenty of drivers haven't even set their first time, so should see plenty of drivers filter themselves onto the board. Aiden Young's down in 18th. 37 drivers, by the way, still with times on the board. 20 yet to put themselves onto the mark. And the margin's quite close as well. 3/10 covers the top 10 as they run right now. And so Aiden Young's looking for a little bit more as he sweeps out wide. That's a pretty good run in the World Sim Racing Esports with butt kicker entry. And so currently on a 48.564 as he breaks the timing beam. It's 3/10 that will jump him up into the top 3.
Yeah, not bad. There's going to be a couple of drivers coming over the line thick and fast. There's one to keep an eye on. There goes Vicky across the line. Then 48.8, not great. Shomi Shintani is coming up towards, I think it's to finish a lap. He sets a 48.4. But do keep an eye on the likes of Shomi Shintani. He's been absolutely rapid. One of the fastest drivers. Frattini goes above. One of the fastest drivers in the Formula Ford Esports Championship, which supports British F4.
And the time, by the way, from Aiden Young didn't count because of track limits. Not something I was really thinking about. And so now I'm watching Shintani, especially out there where you can run wide, but you can't put two wheels onto the grass on the outside of the AstroTurf. How many drivers are maybe just using a bit too much of the tarmac right now? Woodhatch's time has stood up very, very strongly. He's still more than 1/10 of a second clear of the rest of the field. I've got to say, Lewis, relatively tidy lap from Shintani as he comes back to the line.
Yeah, let's see what Shintani will do then. Again, he's won a handful of races, has the largest amount of wins and the largest amount of poles in the Formula Ford Esports stuff. 48.15 goes up to second position. Just starting a lap time now. Formula 3 race winner. It's going to be Callum Poison, by the way.
We've still got some big names, Dylan Bursts included. He jumps himself up into 16th position with a session done and dusted, on board with Remy Gilbert as well. You can just see how trying to settle the car in on turn-in as Thomas Fleming up to 7th position. Plenty of drivers putting themselves in decently, but again, just a great time from Woodhatch. Fleming's got another lap time still left to go, so if that was his first lap, imagine what he can do on his second. Gilbert attacks the final corner.
Yeah, Guild Esports driver. They had one of their drivers, Henry Moore, who took part in one of the Formula 4 Festival races earlier on the day, won that one. Of course, he's the British F4 Esports leader. Not taking part in this one because he's out watching the Walter Hayes Trophy at Silverstone. As Remy Gilbert will come up towards the line. Is it going to be a decent time? 48.4. That might be disappointing for Remy Gilbert, to be fair.
Callum Voisin's first lap time, a 38.5, by the way, so he's down in 29th. And we do have all the drivers currently on the board, only 51 in this top split of competition.
I've just seen Callum Voisin's second lap. He's already binned from it. He's dropped it, so he's going to be starting. That's a big favourite for this event, starting way down the order.
Thomas Fleming might have binned it as well because he won't improve on his second lap time, and that might be Woodhatch secure on pole position. We watch Remy Gilbert, though, who is on his second and final lap time in this session. Only a couple of other drivers, I think, might have a chance, and so we see Gilbert run towards the line, ready to see. Will it be Crofton Woodhatch on pole, or can someone stop him? Answer's no. Remy Gilbert is going to jump his way up into 5th. That's all he can do.
Yeah, it does seem as though unless someone else is on a sneaky lap time out there, Crofton Woodhatch is going to be on the pole position, which is great. He's had a bit of a slump of form throughout the last couple of weeks, but then particularly before that, rather, the last couple of weeks, he's kind of found his form again that he had at the start of the season in the Formula Fords, and as like I say, now he's finding his form again and showing it clearly. Woodhatch and Shintani, two drivers who have had a fair amount of wheel-to-wheel racing, and maybe even a little bit closer than that over the last few weeks as well.
Robbins racing, some would say that, right? I think we're in for a very interesting race, that is for sure. We've got the who's who, effectively, of race car drivers, both in the virtual and real worlds. And this race car, it produces some interesting racing. And the layout's short, not much opportunities to fight your way forward. And so Crofton Woodhatch, right where he wants to be in that WSR Esports butt kicker entry, alongside Andre Castro, though, on the front row, who's got experience in this car to bring to the party. Remy Gilbert, Dario Frattini share row 2 with Emil Bernstoff, and then Ora Zamaloa sharing row 3. Brandon Blakesley inside of Ian Joyner, 7th and 8th positions with the number 1 machine, highest I-rated driver in the field, Dries Van Langendonk, back alongside Luca Becker to round out the top 10. Chris Rosenkrantz and Jeff Richardson, 11th and 12th positions with Alexander Powell and Zachary Rivard, 13th and 14th. Aiden Young, no lap time the second time around, really punishes him. He starts back in the field, 15th alongside Henry Jocelyn with Yerne Zorek and then Antonio Vasquez behind them. Bookending the top 20 will be Iggy Smith and Daniel Tufts with Frank Gaffer and Christopher Cass behind them. Ollie McGowan and Peter Maddox, 23rd and 24th, with Thor Tullo and Blake Tovey rounding out this first starting grid. Remember, top 13 advance directly to the feature. What are we expecting, Lewis, as we get ready to go?
Absolute chaos. Do remember, again, these are the drivers who have started or who qualified in the odd numbered position, so first, third, fifth, and so. And again, this sets the grid for the main race as well, so better get a good result.
Is that someone already blasting the engine for more?
I thought we were going racing. I was like, there's no nothing. I was like, that's crazy.
Wow, that I mean, I guess you want to build up to some temperature in your engine, I guess. But the battle around the cut line is going to be interesting, and don't be surprised if we avoid chaos on the opening lap if the drivers 15th, 16th, and behind are waiting for their opportunity as we get deeper into this 10-lap affair. 2 heat races as we get ready to set the stage for the British Racing and Sports Car Club iRacing Formula 4 1600 Festival. Good start from pole position, rest of the drivers filtering in behind. We're racing at Brands Hatch and down through the opening corner. Single file for the front 3 or so, but then the challenge around the outside. It's bold from Dario Frattini as he plunges up the hill and makes it work on the brakes as well.
Yeah, cracking start from Frattini. Already a bit of a spin in the back from Rosenkrantz. He's gone out wide at Druid, so that driver's just rejoined the circuit now as they come down into Graham Hill. Langendonk getting past Blakesley as well. There was definitely the sound of contact going into Graham Hill bend.
Well, it was inevitable, wasn't it? And now it's really going to start to pinch up right around that transfer line. Remember, it's going to be just inside of that front 13 or so where drivers automatically move on forward. And so guess what? End of the opening lap and already starting to see a little bit of movement and overlap there. 5 positions lost for Ian Joyner. He is the biggest loser alongside of Frank Gaffer. Biggest mover, Zachary Rivard, 3 positions gained on the opening lap.
Yeah, it's a big shame for Joyner. He's been rapid in the Formula 4 esports stuff. Here comes a big move to the inside though as Castro sends one on Woodhatch, and Woodhatch goes round. There's contact between the pair and they're gone.
And that's what we were talking about with chaos. They will rejoin right into the path of the oncoming traffic. They were 4 wide, ends terribly, unfortunately. Oh my days. Dario Frattini says, thank you very much. I will gratefully grab the race lead. And remember, whoever wins this race starts from pole position in the main event. 3 wide. It looks like a great move until it wasn't. And there's more smoke out of the final corner.
And the IQ has plummeted down to 0, unfortunately. Not smart driving from all this. Woodhatch has been into the barrier again, by the way. He's back up to 16th spot. Remember, get inside that top 13 and you are through into the final. Let's have a look at that one again. Ooh, I don't know.
I mean, the rejoin is what's really interesting. Although the rejoin's not that bad. It's the fact that there's a spinning car that means the others are trying to then move left. I mean, that's a car clambering over the curb, losing it, and then causing chaos. So I'm not quite sure who the stealth black entry is. That's Luca Becker in the gravel with the wee on the side of the car. That's not the type of wee he was hoping for, though. On to the 4th lap, we are going to cycle, still with Dario Frattini and Remy Gilbert pulling away at the front of this field.
Yeah, I don't know what type of wee he was looking for, but yeah, definitely wasn't that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Dario Frattini, Remy Gilbert there running 1st and 2nd. Van Langendonk has worked his way up right to up in the 3rd position and is within a 2nd. And normally for these cars, if you're within sort of like that 7, 8, 10th margin, that's when you get the real boost to the slipstream. Within a second, you get a little bit. Once you get within that sort of 6, 7, 10th margin, then you can really close your way up. So Van Langendonk is just on the cusp of that, and I think once he gets within it, we are going to have a big train for this race league because he's dragging Emil Bernstorff, he's dragging Zmola as well, and to be fair, the likes of Blakesley is also.
I do feel as though that last year we had a bit more of a sedate race, it felt like, on many occasions. This is already feeling a bit more helter-skelter. Crofton Woodhatch, don't count him out, by the way. He's already back up inside of the cut line to move directly to the feature. The only problem is right now he would effectively be starting on the 13th row. Doesn't want to start that far back. And so every position that he can gain in these next 6 laps is going to be really, really important. And so I'll ask you this question, Lewis. If you're Remy Gilbert, you're tucked behind Dario Frattini and just sitting there comfortably, would you go for the race lead on the last lap of this race?
I'd look, but I would look in an unaggressive way, if you know what I mean. Like, I'm not putting everything on the line for it, but I'd certainly give a bit of a look. But right now, I'm definitely not looking now because I don't want to bring too many other people back into it. Here's what's happened to McGowan. Oh, right in front. Who was that in front of? They took a massive whack.
I'm not quite sure. I got to say, some of these Formula Fords, suspension on them is built very, very strongly. We have had 5 cars head to pit lane. Christopher Cash, Ollie McGowan, Jeff Richardson, Luca Becker, and Chris Rosenkrantz. And that's what happened to Rosenkrantz as he spins it around as well. But yeah, these cars, fortunately, able to survive some rather big whacks along the way. The pressure is building, though. Remy Gilbert showing himself in the mirrors at the very least as Crofton Woodhatch makes his way up yet another position now into 12th. Van Langendonk, Emil Bernstoff, they're there as well and keeping each other honest. Remember that the main race is slightly longer than the 10 laps that we got here. 10 laps is really not much time to make something happen as Gilbert gets closer back towards the line.
Yeah, the main race later on is 10 laps for each of the heats and for the LCQ, and then it's 20 laps for the main race. Look for third position as Emil Bernstoff will get to the inside of Van Langendonk, so up now into third. They're definitely in contention for the victory here in the opening race. We ride on board with Dries Van Langendonk and head up towards Druids. Has got a couple, Peter Maddox and Blake Toby battling out for the 15th spot. Crofton Woodhatch, by the way, only in position now behind Andre Castro, the driver he made contact with. But you got to remember, if this is how this race finishes, these drivers will all be starting from the odd-numbered positions in the race, and it means that they're going to be starting basically a row apart, and they've already made contact today.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I'm not mistaken, by the way, that's an Andre Castro who, like I mentioned, does have experience racing in open-wheel cars in America especially, and it'll be interesting seeing him plenty on the sim as well. And like Lewis mentioned, we've got Callum Voisin, we've got Will Tregurtha in this field as well. We've got a whole bunch of drivers with real-world pedigree. Going to be really fun to see how they all roll along, especially given some of the liveries that we've got on display for them as well. Riding on board with Remy Gilbert. Lewis, you've been commentating on the British F4 Esports and the support series in this Formula Ford 1600 car. The thing that always surprises me is both how much you can throw this car around, but also how much sometimes you've got to not throw this car around.
Yeah, I mean, this car, it moves a lot, and that's why it's a really good car to learn. If you're in the early days of your iRacing career, you want to jump on these cars like this are really, really good to learn because they're never super stable. And that is kind of a good thing. They dance around the corners. I mean, you'll see it a little bit here at the Paddock Hill as we'll see Dario Frattini chuck his way in. Steps out a little bit from the rear, steps out a little bit again, throws it up over the top, picks up a bit of understeer, drops it out on the gravel, fair enough. Let's see if Remy Gilbert's going to go for a move now.
Answer's yes, but not that aggressively. That's nice and calculated. Dario Frattini doesn't fight it too hard. Still leaves himself up the inside as they dance it through Graham Hill Bend, and he will leave Remy Gilbert just enough room. And Lewis says no. Emil Bernstoff eventually says no as well. But 4 at the front, 1 lap to go. Lewis says we wouldn't have a fight, but Frattini's got a fight in his rearview mirror.
Yeah, but that was all courtesy of the mistake from Frattini there at Paddock Hill, and if he does the same thing again, like I say, Remy Gilbert's going to go for it, but I liked, again, he went for it but didn't put too much risk on. Van Langendonk's pulled out of the slipstream to make sure he doesn't go for it. This is a look to the outside. Emil Bernstoff's going to fire one to the inside at Paddock Hill, takes a lot of the curve as they head their way down the hill. This could be the door open potentially for Remy Gilbert to go for a move. Is he going to try it though? No.
I think Van Langendonk's the one that's sitting back and not trying too much, although having said that, down out of turn 2, thought about a move. They've got traffic in front of them that hasn't proven to be a factor, and so it's been an interesting race after the chaos of the opening lap, and then after Crofton Woodhatch and Andre Castro got together at Druids on the second time around, Dario Frattini took the lead and hasn't looked back. He'll win this opening heat, and he'll start from pole position in the main event later on tonight, with Gilbert, Bernstoff, and Langendonk slotting in behind. Look at the gap to Zamolo and Blakesley as well. It's just a teaser, it's a taster of what we might have for 20 laps in that feature.
Yeah, shout out to Andre Castro and Crofton Woodhatch to both still after their incident come through in 11th and 12th and work their way through. There was Antonio Vasquez, the final driver to transfer into the final. Again, the top 13 in this race transferring straight through into the final. Everyone else, we will see you once again in the last chance qualifier.
And so look at these margins through the field. Pretty close again between those front four. Bigger between some of those behind, indicating the chaos that we saw. So Frattini, Gilbert, Bernstorff, Van Langendonk, Zamola, Blakesley, Rivard, Powell, Young, and Smith all take advantage to the tail end of that top 10 of the chaos, with Andre Castro and Crofton Woodhatch breathing a sigh of relief and only 4/10 splitting them at the end of the race. Antonio Vasquez, recipient of some fortune after the likes of Thortullo, Blake Tovey, and Peter Maddox fought amongst themselves in the closing stages. Ian Joyner, Henry Jocelyn, Frank Gaffer, Christopher Catch, alongside of Jeff Richardson, Jerne Zurek, Ollie McGowan, Chris Rosenkrantz, Daniel Tufts, and Luca Becker are going to have to go to the LCQ, which, let's be honest, no one wants to do. And so that's what these drivers in heat number 2 will be thinking about as well. Shoma Shinatani starts from the front with Jordan Kelly alongside. Dylan McClements is inside of Thomas Fleming with Mark Fletcher, and then Tom Katsadonis alongside on row number 3. Adam Tonkins, Archie Herone, 7th and 8th with Dylan Burrs and Steve Jansen from Down Under sharing row 10. Yeri Vicky and Joel Hull behind them on row 11 with some of the Finnish contingent out as well. Wanji Lin, James Barry, Callum Voisin. Can't miss that car, that's for sure. Alongside of Andrew Petty with Will Tregurtha and then Ali Higdon. Top 18. Matt Norris, Fabio Birchall, the top 20 with Akash Rajesh, Lucas Ratchkvis, Jamie Christensen, Paolo Lopez, and Loke Barb through the field in the second heat, just in time to catch the start. Lights go out, hammers dropped, and away we go. Shintani's going to lead them down in through Paddock Hill Bend for the first time. Already covering off is Jordan Kelly. Any move from McClements or Fleming. There's no battle this time on that second row either. It's single file as you are up towards turn 2.
Yeah, Mark Fletcher, 5th position, making a look to the inside, trying to get past Fleming, but can't do so. Again, Fletcher is the champion leader in the Formula 4 esports stuff. It's Fleming going for the move on McClements as they head their way down through Graham Hill. Could be 3 wide and they're up towards the final complex of corners, but Fletcher drags it alongside Fleming, courtesy of that look and the slow exit.
Tell you what, this start a little bit cleaner, although right around that cut line I think things are going to get quite intense because Wanji Lin's on the right side of the top 13. Callum Voisin and Will Tregurtha are 14th and 15th. Those are the drivers that we're looking to try and work their way forward. 1 lap complete, and I'll say this, 24 cars crossed the line, all in the same condition in which they started. Back towards the edge of the top 10. This is where that battle's going to be. Voisin and Lin side by side. Here comes Tregurtha as well.
Yeah, I think Tregurtha is probably going to try and follow Callum Voisin in through here, although Voisin's completely missed that apex. Not ideal. Almost opened the door for Tregurtha to get to the inside. Do remember how much experience that Callum Voisin's got in the world of, not only sim racing but most, but we see him racing all the time in the Formula 4s here on iRacing, so it's great to see him taking part in the Formula 4 Festival here. But at the moment he's a position shy of the cut line, still plenty of time to work his way through into it though.
So Thomas Fleming up to 3rd. That's basically just a row forward, let's not forget, in the starting position for the main event. This is where I think the focus is going to be, given how Heat 1 had the contact at the start. This is going to be a little bit more clean, hopefully. That's a big lunge there from Voisin. Can't miss that livery, and I don't think Wanji Lin missed it in the mirrors as well. Up to the inside in the M&M's powered entry for Voisin. Should get this move done through Druids if he's able to hit this apex a little bit better. The 3rd time around, he'll squeeze Lin out of contention. Whoa. Get the onboard look with Wanji Lin. Hand off the wheel to shift gears as well.
H-pattern, Lin, I am a big fan now. Huge fan. Probably the only driver wrestling this car around with what looked to be a H-pattern there. Will Tregurtha, yeah, absolutely. There's Will Tregurtha, though, sending one down the inside of the final corner. Tregurtha's making the move on the cusp of getting through in the 14th position. Callum Voisin's already checked out a touch misgrouping, and now the slipstream's being picked up. Unfortunately, I think Lin's going to be on a one-way trip down the order here.
And you got to be careful. Don't take this 3 wide. Andrew Petty thought about it, thought better of it, and so follows Tregurtha, although does not get the move on Wanji Lin. Will have to go the long way around as Lin covers that inside. Again, we're on to the 4th lap of this race. Only Matt Morris is down in pit lane. It has been a very, very coordinated race for the most part. Just goes to show that you can race these cars wheel to wheel. 1G Lin, though, shows that you can't necessarily drive them off the track. Loses a spot. Andrew Petty says thank you very much.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. Like I say, above all this, to be fair, it's pretty much single file. The only exception is Thomas Fleming and Dylan McClements, who have both switched positions. Outside of that, it's actually been relatively calm inside this grouping. I did even see in the in-game chat a little bit of communication between the drivers, which obviously they could do here. Is Joel Hull put in chat push? And I know Mum and Dad will probably be watching this as well. Keep an eye on where he is. At the moment, currently running 11th position, telling the drivers behind him to kind of push him rather than do anything else. Jordan Kelly taking defensive line. Oh, we spoke too soon. I spoke too soon.
This is a second race in a row where leaders up front have come together for no reason. Wow, oh wow. Jordan Kelly, Thomas Fleming. It's Druids once again. That's the side of trouble. And I think you've got to keep in mind that maybe there's some glue coming together that's causing them some issues. It does now give a couple of drivers some more confidence. And as Thomas Fleming's been involved in yet another issue with Yeri Vicky, Callum Voisin mixed up as well.
Yeah, we saw that M&M car pop its way back in. There's Joel Hull making a move in the background as well to find his way through into 8th position on Steve Jansen. So through there, bit of progress being made from a couple of these drivers. But what drama there on the halfway point of the race. The end of lap 5, absolute scenes. Tompkins gets past as well as Dylan Burns tracks away past Heron. Let's see this one.
I mean, I think they're both just trying to run as tight as they can. And yeah, it's the left rear and right front that get stuck together. Maybe you could argue that the blue car isn't on the curb where it can comfortably maybe run, but racing incident at the end of the day. Unfortunate, both cars have had to head down towards the pit lane, and I have just seen Thomas Fleming's left the session. I'm hoping he'll be back for the LCQ. He's still got a chance, although a slim chance. Remember, only 4 move forward from there.
So that's what happens. That was Callum Voisin then trying to get past him. Fleming was just involved in all of that. It was with Jerry Vicky. So this is on board. So you can see Callum Voisin there. Voisin took quite a lot of the curb on the left and then just kind of came over the nose of Vicky, who was trying to hang down the inside, and Fleming had absolutely nowhere else to go.
And I have no idea what's been happening while we were watching the replay. McClements has had an issue. I saw Fletcher got involved as well, and so the Altitude Esports driver, the one that made the initial contact there. But then there was more. Fletcher gets pinched then on the run down towards Graham Hill Bend. The first couple of laps were clean, and then they decided, you know what, let's be less clean now.
Yep, indeed, and that's promoted Wiltshire then up to 8th position, and Fletcher still remains inside the top 10. And trust me, he can win from now. It'll be 20th on the main race. This is the thing you got to remember: is whatever position you're in, times it by 2, and that's the position you're starting the main race in. So for Fletcher at the moment, he'd be starting from 20th place. The only person we've not really spoken about in all this, Shoma Shintani. I said he was one to keep an eye on. 1.7 seconds clear of the entire field, has absolutely run away.
Now, I do think that gap has blown up and ballooned up partially because of those incidents that we've just seen, but you are right. He has driven a flawless race to this point, inside of the cut line for Jamie Christensen, and so as he watches this battle between Paulo Lopez and James Barry, does not need to take this much risk running this close. Lopez is up 13 positions in this race. He started down in 24th and is looking like he might still have a chance of advancing if he can stay out of trouble with 2 laps left to go.
Yeah, indeed, and of course it's a little bit tense down here because one mistake and you'll be outside of the cut line. You'll be below 13th position, and then you'll be in that last chance qualifier. Remember, at the moment, the 13 drivers, the top 13 in this race go through. You go into that last chance qualifier. It is a bigger grid than this race, and only 4 drivers go through. You don't want to be in that race.
Oh no, if there was one thing that I can promise you, Thomas Fleming probably saw I'm in an LCQ and thought, oh,
I'm out.
No, I'm out. Yeah, it's probably the experience of that race is probably going to be more frustrating than fun, unless you're at the front and running away, in which case maybe. Anyway, we're on to the final lap of this one. We could still see a battle, not up front where Shintani has run away, but could Akash Rajesh, or maybe even behind him, Lucas Rashkovich, take advantage of all of this fighting in front of them? There's 5 cars in this queue.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, look, again, some quality battles that we've seen. I mean, well, quality is a word. Interesting battles that we've seen. But like I say, this is probably going to get turned up to 11 here. But then where do you make moves from this point? Final corner's not so great, and Shoma Shintani's coming through the last one.
Gonna be a nice, comfortable victory for him. It's a 2-second buffer, staying clear of all the chaos for Shoma Shintani. He'll line up on the outside of the front row come that 20-lap main event. And behind him, Katsudonis, Tompkins, and plenty of others in a comfortable finish to their race. Less comfortable drag race to the line, but no changes. Akash Rajesh is just gonna miss out. And for Paulo Lopez, biggest mover of these heat races, 13 positions gained, takes advantage of all that chaos and shows you don't necessarily always need to be fast. Sometimes you need to just be in the right place at the right time. Something Callum Voisin, I don't think he can say he was rather in this first race of the day for him.
Yeah, indeed. It's a tough one.
It's a quick look at the results. Shintani, Katsudonis, Tompkins, Harone, Burrs, Hull, Jansen, Tregurtha, Lynn, Fletcher. They all move forward through various methods and means of chaos. Behind them, Lopez, Barry, Christensen, again, confirmation of those top 13, and the rest of the field going into the LCQ, where again, only 4 will advance. It's another 10-lap race, so there's not much time for them all to get sorted how they're going to battle this one out. We'll look at the starting grid and blast through it very quickly. Thor Tullo and Akash Rajesh on the front row with Blake Tovey and Lucas Rashkovich behind them. Peter Maddox, Dylan McClements behind them. And then 7th, the way of Ian Joyner. 8th for Loic Barb. And then Henry Jocelyn, Andrew Petty, Frank Gaffer, Callum Voisin, the top 12. And still rolling to find Christopher Catch, Yeri Vicky, Jeff Richardson, Jordan Kelly, Ollie McGowan. And then just continue to blast through the names. Lewis, what's your expectations? Look at some of these strong drivers down at the back of the field.
Take the 25 drivers, pull out 4 random names. That's who's going through. It is so tricky. Anyone can go through on this grid. It is absolutely crazy. I am expecting it to be very chaotic at the start and not too many people crossing the line at the checkered flag. It is going to be brutal out there.
It is, I think, the race that everyone was hoping they would not be in, except if you're a viewer sitting and watching on. You can see plenty of missing grid stalls. We'll see what happens as we get ready to go. 10 laps on deck, 4 to move forward, and that slow roll down towards Paddock Hill Bend. Once again, it's going to be led by Fortillo, but a challenge around the outside by Rajesh, who got a great launch, slides himself out wide and into the gravel, and here will come Blake Tovey to take advantage up the inside.
Yeah, indeed, like I say, some big dives as we get our way up towards Druids. Any contact here, though? The answer to that question is no, so at least there's that one driver going out wide in the background. That was Petty at the moment, and there's contact there just behind. Ooh, awkward.
Helps if I mute myself. 2 drivers did start from pit lane, and I just did see, I think it's 5 drivers elect not to take the start at all, and so slightly reduced field as the cars lit up the rear tires in smoke slightly. This is just on the outside of the cut line. They're 3 wide running back to the line and almost bumping wheels on the edge of the top 10. Look at Callum Voisin in that multicolored M&M powered entry. He's up to 6th and starting to close on those top 4 transfer positions as they dive down to turn 1. Here comes Petty around the outside.
Oh, Cash has gone wide. I absolutely love the livery on Cash's car, but it's not looking so good in the gravel trap. 3 wide, he's open at the door. Then comes Vicky down the inside, and there is the crash. It was expected going into that corner when they were going 3 wide.
And well, you like the livery on Christopher Cash's car. It got a close-up from our cameraman, at least momentarily. Remember, this is the final chance. Only 4 drivers move forward. Everyone else is watching from the sidelines once that main event gets underway. And so a big lunge, it was always going to come. Not going to work from Ian Joyner. It does slightly displace Blake Tovey from the top 3 and the draft as well. He's up the inside, running up towards Paddock Hill Bend. Voisin's looking for a path through as well. It's 6 at the front, fighting for 4 transfer positions.
Yeah, I mean, look, if I'm Callum Voisin, I mean, I know he's not watched the British F4 Esports Championship or the Support Series. I would actually try and work with Ian Joyner here, who's been very, very good in the Formula 4s, at least pace-wise and showing him that. I'd almost want to work with him to try and come through this field here. But at the moment, Callum Voisin's doing it in a solo bid, so he jumps down the inside of Akash Rajesh, now squeezes out wide ever so slightly with Ian Joyner, who's now on his outside as one of them goes missing. And he's back.
That was a bit more of a squeeze than I was expecting there. Voisin not working with Joyner in the same way that, I think you're right, Lewis, he wants to maybe try and work with a driver that is on the same sort of vein and frequency as him. 3 wide up towards Druids was never going to work, and that's a good view of the sky there if you're Christopher Cash. Back over, though, to the live pictures. We're on to the 4th lap of this race, and just look how busy it is. Rashkovic has taken the lead and is starting to pull away. Voisin looks up the inside, but all as Tovi and Rajesh just block off the path for him in front, down towards Graham Hill Bend for the 4th time they go.
Yeah, and I know everyone's probably sat there at home watching, thinking, oh my goodness, they are probably thinking, oh my goodness, as Rajesh is sent off. Callum Voisin was to the outside at Graham Hill Bend. Oh, and there's a car upside down.
If they weren't thinking, oh my goodness, they're definitely thinking that now. I could promise you that one. How many different cars tangled up and how many different sort of incidents then. Riding on board with Jari Vicky in 5th position. So Rashkovic, Tullo, Tovi, and Joyner still up there at the front 4 positions. Rajesh loses out, Voisin loses out as well. My word. We knew we knew we were going to see chaos. I think that when we get a replay, that will sum up what this race is all about.
That wasn't even remotely my point. I was going to say we're focusing on the top lot and there's a lot of other things happening in this race. But how can we pull away when there's that? That's absolutely mad. Like you say, all kicked off with that little bit of contact between Rajesh and Voisin. Let's see what happened behind all that, though.
Right, here we go. Oh, loses it by himself.
Whee!
Sorry, you're about to set me off. That was not the type of weed that I was talking about earlier with Luca Becker either, you know? It's just been an interesting race, that is for sure. We are halfway through, though. Jari Vicky alongside down to turn 1. That's what happened to Rajesh, unfortunately, in that black and red entry. Just... Sorry, that
it's a quality angle. There's more happening behind, like even in the behind all that. Oh, there's a bit of spin behind. That's Callum Voisin with, I think it might have been Becca who's gone round. There was contact between the pair of those at Druids. We're halfway through the race. We've got 4 laps left to go at the line, and we've got 7 drivers very, very close to that top grouping that could all move through.
It's early in the morning for me, and maybe it's just my brain's not working, but yeah, some of these shots are just making me whoa a little bit. Fabio Berchtold, TNT racing car, gets exploded back onto the path of the racing line. Interesting physics with 4 laps left to go. Right, let's focus up towards the front because like Lewis says, it is very much down to, I'd say, 7 at this point. Voisin's alongside of Jari Vicky and trying to close his way up forward as well. But I think this is going to be where, if you're in that front 4 right now, you've got to work together, try and block off the momentum, the opportunities for those behind. I'm
sure, look, there's 7 in this train. We've got 3 laps to go at the line, 3.5 from where we are at the moment as we run around the back of the pit lane. Not all of this group is making it to the line. Not all of this group is making it to the end of the race. Someone's got to go full send. Callum Voisin definitely will. I've seen him race the Formula 4s and his racing over the last couple of years. He's going to go full send for sure to get involved in that top 4 positions. He's already made a big move on Jari Vicky, who he made contact with in the previous race. Like I say, someone is going to be a casualty in this group.
Note, by the way, for Luca Becker. Remember, he started at the back. Before that incident, he was running up in 8th position. You can stay out of trouble. You can make your way forward in these sort of races. Ian Joyner has no choice but to give some room. Jeff Richardson forces his way on through. There's chaos that's seen Thor Tullo lose out, though, through all of that. Richardson is forward into a transfer position, but all with a little bit of argy-bargy. Rashkovic has run away. Toby's got the rearview mirrors filled with this side. 3 drivers battling through the final corner.
Yeah, and once again, this is the part of the track where Vicky made contact. There's a spinner up ahead. Oh my goodness, it's Toby who's gone round. And now this is the 4 as Richardson, Jari Vicky, and Callum Voisin will all be clear. Now, if I'm Voisin, I'm like, look, do you know what? I'm actually kind of backing off now. He's not going to.
Right. Well, we can take a look at some of the replays because there's not going to be much fighting. I agree with you, Lewis. As much as Vicky and Richardson are wheel to wheel right now, they don't need to. They're 3 wide. Oh no! Oh no! Into Druids. Vicky says no. I'm backing out of this. You guys can have your madness. We're just watching all the madness on the replays as well. They're still wheel to wheel. I don't think Callum Voisin knows how to say no.
No, indeed, gets in the up and under on the Guinness Mobile and, yeah, fires that one through, and here comes Jari Vicky through. Do they know they're in the top 4 at the moment? Do they know they're going through if they keep racing like this? Absolutely wild. I mean, look, cracking race, very exciting. Rashkovic is miles clear. What drama.
I like what Mark Fletcher's just popped into our YouTube chat, by the way. Do these people realize the wheels are outboard? They're not sports cars.
do like Mark. He's a good lad. He's so good as well, and they're going to have to deal with it in the main race in a few moments' time.
Yeah, Mark found out he was part of some of those incidents in his respective heat, still able to work his way on forward. But yeah, it's been physical, hasn't it? We've had moments of good racing interspersed with chaos and smoke and carnage and everything in between. Through all of that in this LCQ, with 23 entering, only 4 advancing. It's going to be Lucas Rashkovic at the front of the field that makes his way through with the most success and with the most ease as well. Voisin, Richardson and Vicky will finally stop tripping over each other on the run to the line to advance behind him as well. But the race that no one wanted to be in has finally come to an end.
Honestly, absolutely wild. It was pretty exciting, but like I say, all these drivers, they're all getting ready. Like all these drivers, they've just completed 10 laps. They're going straight into a 20-lap race after this. Like, you don't get time to breathe. Everyone else, like from that first heat race, they've had plenty of time to have a breathe, to sit down, to watch all the chaos, to get more nervous.
Oh, you're nervous. Racing drivers, sim racers, have you seen their webcams? They don't have emotions sometimes. Lucas Rashkovic wins this race by almost 3 seconds and advances with Voisin, Richardson and Vicky. We say goodbye to the rest of the drivers. They'll be watching on from the sidelines as we get ready to go. So Gaffer, Morris, Tovey, Zorek, McGowan, McClements, and the rest, unfortunately, are done for this year's iRacing Formula Ford 1600 Festival. We'll scroll through those names. Lewis, we are getting ready to go, though. These drivers have just been dropped onto the grid for the main event, so we are going to go take a look at how they'll line up for the 20 laps that lie ahead. Dario Frattini, Shoma Shintani, they've been watching on and waiting to get ready to go from the front of this field. They'll have Remy Gilbert and Tom Katsadonis behind, with Emil Burnsoff and Adam Tompkins sharing row number 3. 7th for Dries van Langendonk. Archie Heron is alongside him, with Oyer, Zamaloa and Dylan Burst making up the rest of the top 10. Brandon Blakesley, Joel Hall, 11th and 12th positions, with 13th going the way of Zachary Rivard, Steve Jansen, Alexander Powell, Will Tragurtha, and then Aidan Young and Wanji Lin through the top 18, bookending the top 20, Iggy Smith and Mark Fletcher. Andre Castro, Paulo Lopez, Crofton Woodhatch and James Barry. Those are the drivers that all made their way through automatically alongside Vasquez and Christensen. Everyone else made it through from the LCQs. This event keeps moving. The engines rev, the lights go out. We're racing for the main event of the British Racing and Sports Car Club iRacing Formula Ford 1600 Festival. Dario Frattini is going to lead us down the hill through Paddock Hill Bend for the first time. He's out wide into the gravel alongside Shintani as they battle to Druids for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, look, for the most part, it's actually not been that bad, but Frattini's hanging on to that top spot at the moment, so good defense from Shoma Shintani. He will get aggressive in this race. There's 20 laps, though. They need to tell themselves that it is a long race, 15 minutes, but it is still relatively long. Out wide goes a couple of drivers. Will Tragurtha gets past Alex Powell in the background now, and Yonchi Lin now working his way up. Joel Hole and Blakesley also switching positions.
Relatively tidy start, all things considered, especially knowing how some of the racing has gone so far. Tick away 1 lap. No, we've still got 19 to go, and that train extends quite considerably backwards. Shintani pops himself up high on the run down to turn number 1. Can he sweep that momentum around the outside to the race lead? On board with Remy Gilbert. He's got a great view. Can't take it 3 wide because Frattini's covered off the inside, blocked off any potential move. They're almost touching wheels. Shintani gets a little bit escorted wide, and Remy Gilbert's going to try and take advantage down towards Graham Hill Bend.
Yeah, indeed. He's got the outside lines. He's going to run right off the circuit. Shintani's going to give the movie right on board with Burnstoff behind. Remy Gilbert has won round the circuit in the British F4 Esports Championship course back in 2023 and had some really good runs around the Brands Indy circuit as well at the start of the 2024 season as well. So is quite strong around this venue. Now moves his way up the second position. Dario Frattini, the next one to tick off.
And so we'll see now if we see a breakaway building. You can see a margin start to develop between, I think that's 10th and 11th position as it sits right now. Might see a relatively calm opening 5 or 10 laps of the race before it gets helter-skelter and everyone lets loose towards the end. Some of those drivers do have to make their way forward, though. Dries van Langendonk is alongside of Archie Heron as they head down towards turn number 3. Whoa. Dylan Burrs gets sent around in the Eclipse Sim Sport entry, and out he goes at the top 10.
Yeah, that was a very aggressive spin after that bit of contact, as we see now with Archie Heron right on the rear end of Van Langen. Dong Zamola's been around, or at least dropped down a couple of these positions between behind Hull and Rivard. Also, we're riding on board with Zamola now, so you can see Joel Hull just up ahead, picking up the, giving the slipstream rather, to Zamola, who we're riding on board with. Will Tregurtha will be knocking at the door to maybe do something between these two up at Druids.
Well, Tregurtha, of course, part of the Williams esports team, brings his real-world experience over there to help coach some of their drivers. Wonder what he thinks about all of this. He thinks I'll try and take it 3 wide and backs out of it up towards the braking zone. Do like the heads-up nature that we've seen from some of these drivers. They've been willing to show themselves for a move, not always committed. It puts some uncertainty into the mind of the driver in front of you. Let's see if that's going to now open the door, though, for Brandon Blakesley behind. This is all, remember, just outside of the top 10. Like you said, very odd for Dylan Burst the way he went around, and that could have been a lot worse if he slid back even an inch more.
Yeah, it was just kind of nose down the inside at Graham Hill, and then the contact was made, just spun the car around, pitched it immediately. Just one of those racing deals. So you saw Remy Gilbert there not going after the slipstream of Dario Frattini, so he's happy to sit behind for now, which does make sense. Shomi Shintani wasn't going for anything. I think Shintani will be a little bit more patient on the rear end of this group, maybe go for an attack on the final 5 laps.
Love this look from up above. Again, so much elevation change here at Brands Hatch. It is an old school racetrack, and you can see that in the runoff as well. That from behind looked quite interesting. I think that was Wanji Lin, yep, who lost a whole bunch of positions, rejoins down in 23rd. And maybe now make that 24th as Richardson takes advantage to slide through as well. Remember, not just an H pattern for Wanji Lin. Like you said, Lewis, maybe one of the few drivers doing that. But he's using an H pattern while using a Formula-style steering wheel. Very odd to see that. Here comes Gilbert, though, up the inside for the race lead.
Yep, sense that now was the opportunity as he battles with the car who's probably got the wheels that more belongs on his car, to be perfectly honest, based on that shade. As they head their way through Druids, it's Frattini on the outside, Remy Gilbert on the inside, but now as they go down the Graham Hill, it's obviously Remy Gilbert who's on the outside. Going to be a squeeze off here. There always is in this corner, and could allow Shomi Shintani to come through as well. He's not going to make it 3 wide, not down into this section.
This has been a much more interesting event, I think, this year than it was last year. Yes, we've had a bit more chaos and carnage, but look how close they're running each other. And I think there's a lot now going into that strategy playbook. How do you want to execute the rest of this race? Do you want to lead, or do you want to be sat in second and waiting and plotting to try and find your way on forward? Gilbert blocks off the path of Shintani. Here comes Frattini around the outside, loses the rear end on his car, big puff of smoke, and up the inside, an opportunity for Shintani, for Bernstorff, and a handful of others to try and take advantage.
Yeah, oh, Shintani's been sent off though. There was a car still there, obviously, with Frattini still on the outside. Shintani and Frattini, the drivers who start on the front row here, have made contact going through the exit of Druids and have dropped right the way down the order. Shintani then into 11th position. That is such a shame.
Oh, and now make that down in pit lane for Shintani. His car has lost the wheels, quite literally. The wheels have come off his race. On to the 8th lap that we go, though, with a new race leader and now some new contenders that have got to start figuring out how they want to fight. What will Van Langen do? What will Katsudonis do? We know Tom Katsudonis can be very, very quick in these lower powered cars. That's Will Tregurtha getting a big piece of that crash as well. Yeah, Fletcher was also involved, and Fletcher and Shintani have both made contact quite a few times, including on Wednesday night. They made contact at Silverstone, if memory serves. Kind of one of those ones, it is what it is. But I think they did anyway. I say Tregurtha there just rides over the back, like the nose rubs the rear end of Shintani, and it just sends Shintani completely out of control, and then Fletcher's just there. I'm not saying Fletcher had anything to blame though. It's just that's it. You're just kind of in the middle of it. Remember, Fletcher was in our chat talking about how some drivers had seemingly not realized that the wheels were outboard rather, in this car rather than inboard and protected like sports cars. Bernstorff setting something up down out of turn 1. Not going to get to the inside, I think, up through Druids, because Gilbert chops the nose off, and firm and harsh on the defense in many ways. Really stacking up, though. It goes all the way back, really, to Zachary Rivard in 8th position. Or Zamola in 9th is not far off the back as well, and so I think there is plenty of opportunity here. look at Crofton Woodhatch as well. Give him a big shout out. Started down in 23rd, let's not forget. He's gained 12 positions, Lewis. He's up in 11th.
Yeah, and we're about to start the 10th lap, so still plenty of time, 11 laps to go at the start of this one. There's plenty of time. Maybe Woodhatch is going to be out of contention for the race, but I mean, you can see him in the background. He's closing in and might have something to do here. Emil Bernstorff's going to try and get to the outside of Remy Gilbert. They've got a bit of lap traffic as well to deal with, which is going to make things a little bit more complicated as Dries van Langendonk closes his way in, backs out of it though. Doesn't fancy getting involved. It's still the top two going side by side, with Emil Bernstorff getting past Remy Gilbert.
And so I think it is going to be official when we cross the line to reach the halfway mark of this main event. New race leader Emil Bernstorff. Can he hold on though? Look at the run that Remy Gilbert got up towards McLaren. It's going to have to go the long way around though, and just be careful of Van Langendonk sliding up his inside. You can see how close they're running. This car in the real world and the virtual world is used to find the racecraft in these drivers, to develop it and to prove exactly who is the future, who needs to continue moving forward in the ranks of motorsports as they just continue to get up into those higher powered cars. Higher powered cars, of course, more difficult control, not always better to race in though. I've got to say, Lewis, you've been commentating on some great races on Wednesday. We've seen plenty of great racing, plenty of contact as well.
Yeah, Archie Heron's gone round, which is a bit of a shame. Obviously, definitely with contact. No, honestly, the British F4 Esports Championship, both in the British F4 Esports itself and then the Formula 4 Support Series, has been absolutely excellent so far this season, at least from an entertaining point of view. There's been a little bit of chaos, but it's been very, very entertaining. Both myself and Cam Roger have had a great time watching it. Let's see what happened, though, to Heron getting out wide. There's a bit of netcode and then just then a bit more contact to add to that.
I think it was Adam Tompkins that he was alongside on the exit. You can just see here from up above. I mean, Tompkins is there. You can't really... He's got nowhere to go. And so, unfortunate. We've got less than 8 laps to go. Almost said 7 laps for a second, then I realized my commentator math was wrong. Are we going to see, though, now just a 4-car fight up front? Because look at how it started to splinter up. The gap between Katsudonis and Tompkins as a result of that incident.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, not only that, but Tompkins and Hull, I think because they had a bit of contact, Hull was trying to come through, but then didn't really have anywhere to go. I think there might be a little bit of damage on the pair of the cars. Once again, as we saw back in the heat races, I've noticed that Hull's been communicating in chat saying push. I think he's trying to tell Tompkins, I'm pushing you, don't defend, don't do anything, like you do what you're doing, and I'm going to try and push you. Although that has ended now because Hull's just made a move for the top 5.
And we'll see if that's going to cost them time or if it will help them. Hull down to 7th. I'm going to assume he ran wide and probably cost himself a bit more than he helped himself. That's the danger, of course, of racing these sort of cars and throwing aggressive moves when you've not got the power to bail you out. That's where that racecraft, of course, does come into play. That gap did grow as a result of the move. 3/10 built up. So now, Bernstorff, Gilbert, Van Langendonk, and Katsudonis. Now, Katsudonis is the one that we maybe haven't talked about too much over the course of the day, Lewis. He's just been there and sitting quietly. And like I mentioned, I've commentated on Katsudonis quite a lot in lower-powered cars across the Prodigy Racing League. He loves a good fight.
Yep, indeed. Oh, he nearly loved a big spin there at Paddock Hill as he got on the brakes just as the circuit pitched its way over. I mean, it's such an aggressive angle to go to Paddock. I mean, I've been to Brands Hatch quite a lot over the last month or so for British Touring Cars, British GT, GP3, all that kind of stuff, but I've been here a fair amount. Again, the whole thing, it sounds cliche. You never get it like on game or on TV or whatever as to how steep Paddock Hill is. And it's not only that, it's more like how the circuit undulates across all of it. And that's where you see those big stats like what we saw when we were on board with Katsudonis. But you're absolutely right. Any of this top 4 can absolutely win this race. But I think it's between this 4 now. It's far too large of a gap back to Rivard.
All it takes is one crash between these drivers and suddenly it changes, but they built up their gap, and now they've got 6 laps left to settle it. Whoa. Back over to the fight inside of the top 10, and Blakesley, or Zamola, excuse me, the one that tangles with Blakesley, sent off into the gravel. Crofton Woodhatch is now up to 8th position, 15 spots gained from where he started. He would be the biggest mover, except Gary Vicky's gained 16 spots so far in this race. Crofton Woodhatch is not done though. Look at this, he might have a chance to grab 2 if Joel Hull and Adam Tompkins keep beating each other up. Woodhatch is going to set this one up and try and get a run down the main straight.
Yeah, there might be a bit of contact here between the pair of them. Like I say, Tompkins just run out wide. Tompkins got on the throttle really early. The door's open for Crofton Woodhatch, and Joel Hull and Adam Tompkins both out of the race. I think the thing is Tompkins was trying to get on the throttle to get the rear end to poke out, but the car just understeered, courtesy of how it undulates around that part of the circuit. And there was always going to be contact at that point. Car on your outside, you get on the throttle, you're going to understeer, and off you go.
I tell you what, Crofton Woodhatch was probably sitting there going, that's right, exactly how I dreamed this one up. Yeah. Exactly how he thought about it. Okay, 5 laps to run, and now all focus behind has gone. It's all towards these 4 drivers. Bernstorff's controlled Lewis since they started to break away. Remy Gilbert hasn't really shown himself alongside. Surely that's going to change at some point as we take a look at the replay.
Yeah, so it was Zamola looking down the inside of Hull there at T1, wasn't really alongside. I think Hull might have turned in a little bit as well, so the two of them making contact before the apex of Paddock Hill. So a bit unfortunate there for Zamola, but around maybe got a little bit too aggressive. It's kind of one of those ones where it is what it is.
Remy Gilbert blocked off by Emil Bernstorff up towards Druids. I think it comes down to the last lap. Is that just me being hopeful, or is that me being realistic?
Realistic.
So you're saying that we're not going to have a crash before then? I like it. I like the confidence, the optimism.
I think it's well, that was a big crash. Like you say, that the two of them come together at such high speed. So Tompkins was all the way over the inside. I want to see this from up top. Yeah, I mean, Hull's given the room. Tompkins is trying to drive off the corner. I'd say it's more of a racing instinct, but it is what it is on that one. But no, I think it's realistic with these lot. I mean, surely they're not going to fight that hard. It's all going to be like fairly well measured up until that final lap, at which point it's handbags at dawn.
Oh yes, the gloves come off then. There is no doubt about that. If you're Tomcats Adonis, 3 laps to go, you're running out of time. You can't be in 4th trying to fight for the win on the final lap. At worst, you want to be in 3rd trying to take it 3 wide. We've seen 3 wide today. We haven't seen 4 wide.
I mean, to be fair, if I'm sat in 4th position, I'm still expecting a crash between this lot.
Fair enough.
Also, let's look at iRating for a second. I don't know what the iRating is exactly of them, but you've got the number 1 car, the number 2 car, and the number 6 car ahead, and Cats Adonis is the number 19 car. It's a bit further down. It's got a bit of iRating to gain from this one.
That's not a bad point, actually. Free iRating to potentially be given here in this top split of the iRacing Formula Ford 1600 Festival. That won't be the thing probably at the forefront of his mind, just a side benefit. Remy Gilbert trying to get this up and under out of turn 1, but Bernstorff saw it and covered it off. Van Langendonk tried to get to the inside of 2nd as well, but it's as you were down out of Druids, 1 more lap at the line.
Yeah, this is going to get very, very exciting indeed. Emil Bernstorff, Remy Gilbert, Dries Van Langendonk, and of course Tomcats Adonis. Zachary Rivard's just too far behind. Same with Crofton Woodhatch, a little bit too far behind the number 3 car as well. So I think it's definitely between this 4, but you never know. There might be more positions for that group behind to pick up if there is contact and there is incident between this group. It's going to happen either down at Druids or down at the final corner.
It's been about 6 laps though without a change. Emil Bernstorff heads on to this final lap in control. Will he end this lap the victor? We're about to find out. Down to Druids one final time. Gilbert a bit too far behind as he tries to close up.
Yeah, out into the gravel trap, picking up 2 wheels in it from Dries Van Langendonk, so couldn't go for anything down and towards Druids. Graham Hill bends up next. Bernstorff's driving really well. At the moment, it's turn the mirrors off and focus up ahead. If you don't make a mistake, I think he's got this.
That's the thing about this level of race car driver. When the pressure's on, you need to tune out those elements and focus on what's important. Remy Gilbert's got 1 more opportunity. Not going to get his chance to throw it up the inside. Is it a drag race to the line? It's been a really interesting event, that is for sure. Great to have this iRacing Formula Ford 1600 Festival back. Emil Bernstorff, through all the chaos, controlled the end of this race and wins here at Brands Hatch, the 2024 British Racing and Sports Car Club iRacing Formula Ford Festival.
Not a mouthful. Absolutely fantastic drive though from Emil Bernstorff. Remy Gilbert gave it a good run, but I mean, look, let's be honest, top 4 separated by a second in what's been a very exciting evening of racing. Callum Voisin comes across the line in 16th position then, so a decent recovery. Shomi Shintani's still going to finish the race a lap down after the drama, but yeah, absolutely crazy. And Bernstorff, very well done, and an excellent winner.
and the number 2 I-rated driver in the field. We usually say that iRacing doesn't mean too much, but I think it does usually mean, for the most part, you've got some experience. And so it's been a few years since Bernsdorf went out racing in the real world, raced in 2016 in the GP2 Championship, but we've seen him in the sim racing world plenty in the last handful of years, and that experience still carrying him on strong as he'll burn it down in victory lane here at Brands Hatch.
Do you really think he's going to burn it down?
No, I was hopeful.
In this car?
I was hopeful.
He's going to try. This car does not have the power. It's got like I think it's 113 brake horsepower.
He's giving it his best. He has to use the grass, but there you go, Lewis.
I mean, it's not going to work.
We'll count it. Some burnouts, quote unquote, in victory lane for Bernsdorf, who wins by just over a 1/10 of a second. 3/10 back to Dries van Langendonk with Tonkat Sidonis, Zachary Rivard. The margin between them growing toward the end, and Crofton Woodhatch. Not the biggest mover in this main event, but 17 positions gained. He can be very proud, even if it's not a winning effort after putting it on pole position. Aiden Young, Steve Jansen, Jamie Christensen, and then Brandon Blakesley through the rest of the top 10. Make our way down to 11 to find Or Zamaloa with Yeri Vicky. 18 positions gained for him. He is the biggest mover of this main event in front of Dario Frattini. Started on the front row, of course, drops down to 13th in front of Dylan Burst, Paulo Lopez, Callum Voisin, Antonio Vasquez, James Barry, Wan Jilin, and Lucas Rashkovich. Then Jeff Richardson, 1 lap down for him alongside of Andre Castro. Didn't talk much about him after being involved in the chaos with Woodhatch in heat number 1. Iggy Smith, Shoma Shintani, Adam Tompkins, Joel Hall, Archie Heron, Will Tragotha, Mark Fletcher, and Alexander Powell. The rest of the top 30. Well, Lewis, it was great to be back here at Brands Hatch once again. I really enjoyed this iRacing Formula Ford 1600 Festival, and we've got plenty more to look forward to in November. Fuji, the SCCA runoffs, and the Winter Derby still left to come.
Yeah, indeed. Before we round out the season, Chili Bowl, which I like. I do quite enjoy the Chili Bowl. Yeah, a bit of dirt racing to end the season. Why not? But you know, Formula Fords. I think this was a great addition last year. To be fair, even better this year. Very, very exciting. I think it's going to be one of those ones that's going to grow a lot over the next couple of years. And yeah, I can't wait to see more of it.
And then, of course, the Chili Bowl to close things out. It's a real journey through motorsport is the iRacing special event calendar. Can't wait for it to wrap up and for us to look back to Daytona in January to kick things off for 2025 once again. But for our team behind the scenes here, it's time to bid you farewell. For Hugo Luis controlling all the action, for Lewis McLeod alongside myself, Arjuna Kankipati, thanks for joining us here from Brands Hatch. A true test of racecraft in these Formula Ford machines, but it's Emil Bernsdorf walking away the winner of the 2024 British Racing and Sports Car Club iRacing Formula Ford 1600 Festival.